So, incoherence in our daily life is when we experience that confusion, that overwhelm, fear. We see something about the election or on the news or social media, we get triggered over and over again. So,
Mhm.
from the heart, from these tools that I teach in the book, which are evidence based, there's science, and there's also ancient teachings, there's this incredible way, Will, to
Mhm.
create that coherence, to come into more harmony and flow, and it's
Mhm.
measurable.
Kimberly, my friend, welcome back. This is our hangout time in front of hundreds of thousands of people.
It's so great to chat with you. It's always so fun to be together.
Likewise. The last time I saw you was a few months ago. We were in the jungles of Mexico, as we do if we had a nickel, right? It's like, and we were both speaking at the same event at Palmaya. Beautiful, right? With Wanderlust. We were there with Wanderlust. And what was that like for you? That was a cool event, right?
It was a cool event, and it was just me and my younger son because there was school
Yes.
for my older, and my husband stayed back with him. So it felt so special to really be. A lot of us teachers got to have dinners together and be together, and the nature, there's monkeys. It was an amazing time.
It was a lot of fun. And your sweet son, Moses, right? What's his name, Moses?
Yes.
Yeah, he's such a
Yeah.
sweet boy. I got to meet him. And I brought my wife. My kids stayed back because they're teenagers. So they wanted to hang out with their friends. I tried to bring all of them down there, but they were traveled out. Because I normally bring my kids when I've traveled for work, and that's been such a blessing over their childhood. And we had done back-to-back work trips and they were over it. So that could not even coax them with an organic resort in Mexico. I think we're not into it.
Well, I
Anyway.
could see both you and your wife because there's like this promenade we'd walk up and down, and both of you were like, I remember when our kids was, Mosey was 3. I remember that age.
Yeah,
So it's
sweet.
cool seeing all the different. I mean, you guys are ahead a few years with the
Yeah,
teenagers.
yeah. My goodness. So how's life being a mom right now? I mean, are you still going back and forth between Hawaii and California? What's life like?
Yeah, we actually spend a lot of time in Hawaii, especially in the summers. So we did a big harvest a few weeks ago of our cacao. We farm cacao. We have 1 million bees. We also have one area is sort of our experimental permaculture part where we've planted peppers and papaya and tulsi and different things. But it was really
Amazing.
fun getting the kids in there. I don't know if you've ever climbed up the cacao trees. Some of our trees have hundreds of pods.
Wow.
So we actually did a very light roast. Just seeing the whole process of cacao, it's such a sacred tree.
Hmm.
And I was mentioning to you, my older son is like a chess and math prodigy. So he's been in chess camp, and I try to keep up with him. He's 8 now, and his level is so high. But we play hours of chess a day. Well, I didn't know he was gonna go in this direction. So it's been a really amazing summer with the waterfalls and the chess and being on the farm. And yeah, it's
I
been really
love that, Kimberly.
magical.
Every time I talk to you, I learn something new. And now you have an 8-year-old chess prodigy. How did he get plugged into that? I mean, was there chess in the home, or no? This was like a personal passion for him.
When my mom passed away a few years ago, my dad moved in with us and he was trying to find community in LA. He'd moved from Connecticut. So he got into this chess club at the Venice Library. And so I have pictures of him at 3 playing with my dad's chessboard. So pretty early on, he started learning it from grandpa. And I played when I was backpacking for 3 years around the world. When it was really hot in India, every day in the middle of the day for hours, I would play chess, but never on this level. I mean, now he's like already playing and winning tournaments. I've become a
Wow.
chess mom, Will. Chess tournaments are all day. I mean, imagine parents that are, dance
Yeah.
moms or whatever.
Yeah.
So we sit in these chess tournaments now. Um,
Wow.
so
I'm
it's
a
amazing.
I'm a dance dad, but I kind of want to be a chess dad now because this sounds so like erudite and just like academic and it's chess is a beautiful game. I don't know the history of it, but it's something so meditative about it, right?
It goes so deep. when there's layers of strategies and tactics, and we play this classical music when we play. And I feel like parts of my brain turning on, as we'll talk about with this book, the heart
Yeah.
coherence, the heart brain,
Hmm.
just this, it gets me into a flow state. We play
Yeah.
every morning. We start playing at 5 a.m. today. So it's become almost part of my meditation practice.
Yeah. If you had to have a favorite chess piece, like, do you have, is that a thing amongst chess experts? Like, I like the queen, or I like the pawn, or I like the, do you have a favorite one?
Well, people play different styles. There's this chess master named Magnus Carlsen. So there's different theories about bringing your queen out early or not. I tend to attack early, especially when I'm white with my queen. So I'm a much more aggressive queen player, you could say. So yeah, I favor the queen.
I love it. I love it. Oh my gosh. And you mentioned cacao farming. I did not know you had that much cacao. I mean, what are you doing? Is it towards products you're putting out? How are you putting it out into the world?
So we have, you're aware of my wellness brand called Saluna. We
Yeah.
have digestion supplements and products and courses. And so eventually we'll have a sub brand, Will, because we already have, the supplier chain and we have customer service that will be called Bear Family Farms. So eventually
Amazing.
we'll have cacao nibs, perhaps bars, but definitely powders and things that will involve our products and honey. So it's really
Amazing.
fun for my husband and I. We have 10 acres there. The land has never been sprayed with pesticides. It's on the edge of the nature preserve. It's actually, we have a full forest. There's a writing cabin there where I wrote this book, where the inspiration of the book came from. So it's very rural. It's in the
Hmm.
ag land. It's a part of the island where tourists never go. So
Hmm.
there's this purity. So I go back and forth between LA and there, and it's like I fill my soul and my
Hmm.
creativity with that raw nature.
Hmm.
So it's a really beautiful balance.
What's your favorite aspects of cacao? I mean, what have you seen it done therapeutically for people?
So I drink cacao and lots of hot chocolate drinks instead of coffee. And what I like about, the bliss enhancing chemicals and the minerals, it gives me energy, but it's not this sort of up and down, the chaos that I feel from coffee, which is also a plant that I respect, but
Hmm.
not on a daily basis for me. So I feel that it's energizing, and having
Hmm.
worked with it and growing it, it just feels, when people talk about ceremonial cacao, you can feel the sacredness of this
Hmm.
plant. And on my Instagram, there's videos if anyone's interested in seeing the whole process. You take the seeds out, you ferment, you roast. There's this whole process to get it to be chocolate.
Hmm.
So it's really working with it with care and respecting it. I happen to be very sensitive to caffeine, so I have all my chocolate ideally before noon. But
Got it.
I'm drinking some of it right now, actually.
Is it straight up? I know it can be kind of bitter. Do you add like different things within and in it as an elixir?
So we add the raw honey from our farm too, Will. So we
Amazing.
have both. And so again, just that real connection to the land.
Hmm.
We have an amazing beekeeper. He doesn't even wear gloves. I have a bee suit. But when you see how things can be really treated with so much respect and so much love,
Yeah.
just the energy of it. So I'm excited to share it one day.
Yeah. Oh, I can't wait for that. But in the meantime, we have Selena. How many bees do you have? You mentioned
We
how
have
many?
so there's, the beetle population comes in and out, but we have about 1 million bees
A
right now.
bees. Yeah, 1 million bees.
Yes.
Wow. Yeah, that's a lot of bees. And you mentioned the beekeeper not even wearing, because I've seen that before when you kind of they trust you and they know you, they kind of, and I've heard that the queen can determine the kind of attitude and energy of the hive. Is that true? Where it's like if you have an aggressive queen, the hive kind of responds to that. Have you heard, speaking of queens, we keep talking about queens, but this is a queen bee. Is that true or not true?
I think it's definitely true. And the hive functions as a unit. So it's
Yeah.
like really the group think there really is everybody's playing their
Yeah.
part for the hive. I've actually done a podcast with my beekeeper on lessons that we can all learn from bees, because there's this sense of I fit into this community and this is my
Yeah.
sacred role, and for the greater good.
Yeah.
Bees are amazing.
Yeah, the hive mind, hence the term. But what's one lesson you taught? I mean, they can go listen to that episode with your beekeeper. What's one lesson that resonates with you the most that we can learn from bees?
So I love how it is this idea of like we have our individual purpose,
Hmm.
but the purpose is part of a larger purpose, right? So
Okay,
there's
yeah.
the worker bees, and then there's the people helping the queen with her eggs, and everybody is doing their part for the whole. And I just think, and that's one of the themes I think that this heart awakening, what I talk about in the new book, is
Yeah.
really pointing us to. We can try to manifest or create all these things on our own, and there's power in that. But when
Hmm.
we align our actions with the greater whole, I think there's a deeper sense of fulfillment and purpose and energy that comes through us and supports us. So you definitely see that with the bees.
Yeah.
Um, there's incredible energy that comes from them.
Yeah, I don't have apiary or beehive. I want one. I live in the country. I could have one, and maybe next year I'll get it. Maybe next summer I'll do it. But in my small lame way, I see the bees like looking for. It's been a dry summer, and I go and put water out for them, and they love it. I feel like
Yes,
I'm making little watering holes for these bees to drink,
beautiful.
and they look so thirsty. They gobble that water up. So I'm no beekeeper, but I'm trying my best.
Well, even these simple acts of just thinking about the bees, thinking about other beings and other humans
Hmm.
really adds up,
Yeah.
It's part of how we can serve.
And when you look at, I mean, I we haven't talked about it on the pod that much. I had the founder of Beekeepers Naturals on the podcast, so we did talk a little
Ah,
bit about the apiaries. But the other than that, really nothing. But I mean, for people that don't know, like how important it is, because bees are very much being threatened with the environmental changes and how that really is going to impact people if it keeps going in the trajectory that it is. What is going on there for people that don't know?
well, so bees are play a key role in pollination and our food supply, and they're being threatened for different reasons, environmental toxins and chemicals, and deforestation and lots of different um, reasons. So it is really important that we nourish healthy bee communities and treat bees ethically. Instead of overworking bees, sometimes they just move hives around, but giving them a permanent home,
Hmm.
preferably in a spray-free organic space.
Hmm.
It's really important for the overall food supply and the environment.
Yeah, I didn't plan on talking to you about bees, Kimberly, but you brought it up, and I love bees so much. So thanks for humoring me there. And this is a kind of a good segue because I don't know if you meant to do this on purpose, but the beautiful cover of your brand new book gives honey vibes. It's honey spectrum vibes. Did you plan that? Or
I didn't plan it with the honey, but I do. You can see I wear a lot of gold. Gold is the color of Soluna, and the hidden power, the five hearts, right? There's these five stages, and so it kind of this color spectrum lends
yeah.
itself really nicely. But yes, it does look like amber to honey
Yeah,
flavors.
I love it. So we have some different honey on the cover, but it's kind of symbolic of these five hearts, which we're going to get into today. I love learning from you, and I know everybody's going to learn from you in today's episode so much. They've learned about bees and cacao so already and chess. We're going to learn so much more. The heart as the second brain, and this is something that you talk so eloquently about in the book. What's the connection there between the heart and the brain?
So this all does connect, Will, because I remember sitting in my hammock. So I never say to myself, what am I going to write about? There's always this inspiration, the spanda, the Sanskrit word that comes up. So when I was working on my last book, when I was writing You Are More Than You Think You Are back in 2022, I came across some really fascinating research around the brain, and not just the brain as I mean the heart, not just as the heart as we think of it, of course, as this muscle pumping blood, but the heart as a type of brain containing 40,000 neurons. So those of us that are parents, both of us included, you notice when you go in for an ultrasound, when you find out you're pregnant and you go in, the first
Mhm.
thing you see or hear is actually the heartbeat before the brain is formed. So there's this type of
Yeah.
intelligence. And so I started to take this really deep dive into the science, Will, and it was fascinating to learn that the heart actually sends more messages to the brain than vice versa. The heart
Mm,
is the main biological oscillator of the body. So the heart is setting these rhythms in the body. And so this has huge implications for how we can actually avoid stress instead of going into a stress response. It has implications for our hormones, for our immunity, for our digestion. So at the same time, I was starting to really go in deep with the science. I came across a book, a yogic book called The Holy Science by Swami Sri Yukteswar. And in this book, he talks about the 5 stages that all of us humans go through to awaken the heart's power. The heart is this gateway, not just a physical organ, but this gateway that's been talked about in, by the Egyptians, the Babylonians, the Greeks, all world religions. We see the
mhm,
Sacred Heart of Jesus Christ, the Anahata Chakra, Lev in the Torah, Kalb in the Quran, so on and so forth. And
mhm.
so, what I saw in these stages, well, this started to blow me away, was from the dark heart, it goes dark, propelled, steady, devoted, and clear. These paralleled the science of heart coherence.
Oh,
So the dark heart is when the heart and the brain aren't talking. This is known as incoherence, all the
mm,
way to the clear heart, which is known as heart brain harmony in science. And so as we progress through these stages, we can create more energy, more vitality, more clarity, better communication, more emotional intelligence, better relationships
mm.
from the inside. So I was so excited to write this book. Well, and I started to see a huge, huge impact in my life, with my husband, with my kids, just less bickering, better, more connection. I would say 70% more energy now at the end of the day.
Wow.
And I thought I had energy before. Well, I eat really well, I sleep, I do all the things. I started to bring it into my client work, and it's been so impactful.
Wow. It's amazing to me. I think your work is so unique and beautiful in the sense of you bring these sort of deep, esoteric, yogic science things, and you bring them into ways that everybody, well, first of all, these things are not common, right? They're ancient and they're deep in the sense of the modern Western mind isn't going to even see them or be aware of them. And I really do appreciate that you do this because I don't really know anybody in our space at all that does this work of translating these ancient things into modern awareness. So thank you.
Well, thank you so much, Will, for acknowledging it. And again, it wasn't something I was sitting here racking my brain about. It was sort of like a little tidbit, and then I started going deeper and deeper. So
Hmm.
then I started to connect with the Heart Math Institute, who is they're based in Northern California. They've
Yeah.
been studying heart-brain communication for 30 years. And so we ended up doing a study together, a formal study known as the HeartAligned Meditation Study, which took their research and actually some of Yogananda's teachings into this 8-minute meditation. And so we brought people and we ran it in LA with 30 participants. And we had used really sensitive equipment to measure their HRV, their
Hmm.
biomarkers, and their M-Wave Pro equipment. And all we did, Will, was give them a meditation tract to practice 4 to 5 times a week, less than 8 minutes. We brought them back after 30 days, and there
Hmm.
was an average of 29% increase in heart coherence. So again,
Amazing.
for people that are new to this term, I use this analogy in the book. Heart coherence, Will, is like, I get to this beautiful lake and I swim across and I can feel the sun on my back and it feels really flowy and great. I'm not really thinking. I get to the other side. Incoherence is we try to do that same swim, we hit a rock, and we get frustrated. We go around the rock. We kind of go in the wrong direction for a minute. Our goggles fog up. We have to stop and, all these things that happen. So, incoherence in our daily life is when we experience that confusion, that overwhelm, fear. We see something about the election or on the news or social media. We get triggered over and over again. So,
Mhm.
from the heart, from these tools that I teach in the book, which are evidence based, there's science, and there's also ancient teachings, there's this incredible way, Will, to
Mhm.
create that coherence, to come into more harmony and flow. And it's
Mhm.
measurable. We can see it from HRV patterns. Um, there's a graph here in the book on page 29, just the
Okay.
difference between this is what our body looks like when we're in anger. If anyone's watching this
So is
chaos,
it it's like basically very volatile dips and spikes of is that heart rate variability or
yes.
Okay.
This is by the sensitive equipment, not like if you wear an Aura ring, which uses different
Yeah.
algorithms, but really like moment to moment versus appreciation. So this is some of the tools that we use, for instance, in the heart aligned meditation, even in 3 to 10 seconds, Will, this is where the psychological becomes the physiological. We can go into that state, focus on our heart, do some of this coherence breathing, and then we change. What's amazing about heart coherence is that you're changing your perceptions. So you
Mm-hmm.
come back into that situation again, 3 to 10 seconds, you perceive it differently. So then
Mm-hmm.
your thoughts are different, your feelings, your emotions, and then your life is different. There's
Mm-hmm.
so much out there around, be positive, sort of this toxic positivity, or, change your thoughts, change your life, but you're still in that same space of overthinking, right?
Right.
The amygdala, where we store these patterns, it's just like over and over again. So what we're doing with this work, Will, is we're going to a different place. We're going to the heart brain with those 40,000 neurons so that we can start to activate these different perceptions, these different neural pathways. So there's
Yeah.
neuroplasticity that comes between the heart and the brain as well.
So you're shifting your state versus just willing it and saying the words without shifting your state. The
Yes.
I was going to ask you about the yogic science book that was like kind of the aha moment for you. What was the name of that book? And is it in English or
So it is translated into English. It's called The Holy Science. So it was the only book that Swami Sri Yukteswar wrote, who is the guru to Yogananda, Paramahansa Yogananda, who brought yoga to the West. And I sat in my hammock, Will. I remember in the middle of that forest that we were talking about on the farm, and I read the book over and over again. I want to say for at least, 6 months. And there's this, this part that really blew me away where he's talking about these states. So for instance, the dark heart, and we can go in between these states in a day. It's not like we get
okay.
to clear heart and we've arrived. You can also experience the clear heart where you feel this oneness, this timelessness while you're washing the dishes or while you're looking into your child's eyes or your puppy's eyes. But you tend to stay in one state. You tend to be in one state at a period of time, right? So as your
Okay.
coherence capacity builds, you can transcend a state, but you can also feel that fear, that dark heart energy in a moment or in the middle of the night. So the dark heart is the confusion, the fear, the overwhelm, the purposelessness.
Hmm.
Propelled heart, where I've spent a lot of my life, Will, is where we're propelled into seeking validation, seeking meaning. This is where we try to plan our lives. I want to be married by age 30 and have 2 kids by 33. How do I appear on social media?
Hmm.
Very much body focused. I need to get in shape, diet, like very externally based.
Hmm.
So it's not that these things are bad, but it's that sometimes we can put our worth in what other people think or how we look.
Yeah.
So then
Yeah, let's go through them. Let's go through
yeah,
the actual five stages. You're talking about them right now, but if we can kind of take people through
yes.
that continuum that we can vacillate from and where we want to be.
Exactly. Thank you. So back it up for a minute. That dark heart can be a stage of our life, right? Where
Okay.
we're in confusion, we're in depression, or we're just confused. We just kind of feel slothful. We're on the couch. At the end of the day, we're watching TV for hours. We're smoking lots of weed, and we just can't seem to get the motivation to get up. So
Hmm.
it can be a period. It can be, a time. It can be a day. It can be a minute. I look back at my life, well, and I see times I was in a dark period, and I could also see the relationships I chose. So, for instance, I have some abandonment trauma. My mom went back to work when I was 2 weeks old. So I could look at that dark heart period and say, wow, I chose a really nice guy, but it was really safe because I didn't want him to abandon me. I wanted him to love me more, right? So we can see this reflection in our lives, certain
Hmm.
choices we make. Scientifically, that's measured in your body as the heart and brain aren't talking. So a lot of those chaotic HRV patterns, irregularity, again, low energy, probably a pretty poor digestion. Lots of things can happen when the heart brain is not communicating.
Hmm.
Then the propelled heart. So we're like doing mode. So this is where we can experience a lot of anxiety, burnout, stress, never off, always on, always planning the future,
Hmm.
perfectionism, where I lived for a long time, achievements. What can I show? I have to make more money. I have to have more followers, the endless doing, right? Because we're not centered yet in self. So the steady heart will and of course there's digestive issues and lots of things for propelled heart.
Hmm.
This is a really incredible shift where, as Swami Sri Yukteswar says, we start to realize that the real necessities of the human heart have nothing to do with anything outside of himself.
Hmm.
So this is where we start to let go of attachments. This is where we start to find the anchor of ourselves, right? It's wonderful to enjoy life with loved ones, to have all these incredible experiences, but we let go of this gripping, like, I need to be in a relationship. I need you to see me and like me. We start to feel this self-fulfilling, almost this endless torus field of energy from inside. So of course our vitality starts to grow and our energy and our digestion improves. Then we get to the fourth stage known as the devoted heart. So this is, we're not just steadied here, we become more devoted to these heart qualities, to the inner world. It's not just about, the means justify the ends. Every moment, never miss an opportunity to serve. How do we do the kind thing, the loving thing? There's more compassion, there's more forgiveness. The heart intelligence, the emotional intelligence can see wider. So again, from a yogic standpoint, the heart opens, the third eye opens. So you can start to see where you were creating limited patterns, or where you were sort of in this, old, thing playing out time and time again. You can just see more. And what's amazing, well, at this stage, you can actually create more success in your material endeavors, in your health. And then the fifth stage, the clear heart, is this clear heart-brain harmony. So it can be measured. It's, very high states of health and vitality. This is, you're stepping into a field of great synchronicities, miracles, seeming miracles, oneness. You can transcend feelings of separation, judgment, comparison. You just feel so much more connection. So what's amazing too in this work, Will, is they've measured this research in the tools in the book that I've used with hormones. So in 1 month of practicing these coherence building tools, on average, cortisol went down 23%, and DHEA, necessary for vitality, fertility, many things,
Yeah, a
went up
precursor
100.
to. Yeah, sorry, go
Yes,
on.
it's right. You know all
How,
about it, Will.
yeah, how
But
much
went
did
up
it go up? How much did the DHA go up?
100%.
Amazing.
This is amazing.
Yeah,
So as we get out of these, transcend these different stages from within, creating that better heart, brain, nervous system communication, it's
yeah,
immeasurable. Our hormones change,
yeah.
our energy changes, the HRV patterns change. So it's so powerful
For
on
people that
many
don't,
levels.
for people, I love that. So the people that don't know about HRV, variability, can you kind of how would you explain HRV for people?
So this was actually originally coined in the 1990s by the Heart Math Institute, and it's become popularized by
Yeah,
certain measurables, which may use different algorithms. And there's just lots of different products out there, basically. But we do know that flexibility with our HRV. We know that it's a measure of health. We know that when we're able to flow and pivot more and create harmony and adjust to life, we have healthier HRV patterns. The Heart Math Institute has the sensitive equipment that's a bit different than some of the wearables today, in this, like we used in the study. But I can say from an experiential standpoint, what I've experienced, and I've seen my HRV go up, but what it feels like in daily life is being more present, feeling more
hmm,
in flow. So, one of the most amazing things about this work is avoiding stress instead of just trying to minimize the stressful effects once you're already in a stress response.
hmm.
So, as I mentioned, you can activate some of these tools in the book in 3 to 10 seconds. So instead of that same pattern, the stress, traffic comes, memory in my amygdala goes off, I do this, or like I freak out when my kid's in another tantrum in the restaurant. We can actually start to rewire these neural pathways through the heart, change our perceptions, find the best solution
Hmm.
without, going into that stress response.
Yeah. And you mentioned sort of the connection between the heart and the brain, and sort of the bidirectional communication, although you're saying, and you're showing us in the book how the heart actually communicates more to the brain.
Yes.
And heart rate variability is another way for us to kind of, it's a indirect way to kind of measure the activity of the vagus nerve and the parasympathetic, right? The sort of that resting, calming, groundedness state, which is probably all the same thing, right? That's an integrated heart brain, wouldn't you say, is a strong vagal tone?
So in the propelled heart well, there's a whole section about the third brain, which is the gut, right? So
Hmm.
there's ways in which we can activate the heart and gut brain together, which then
Hmm.
automatically starts to sync up the brain up here in our mind. And so this is a really powerful way, the somatic body experience of really tapping into this wisdom of your heart and your gut to
Hmm.
heighten your intuition. So I'm teaching a master class to Entrepreneur Magazine about intuition because it's so practically important for business, for
Hmm.
daily life, even for what, what's the best thing for my body to eat right now. And if we
Hmm.
come at it from a very linear, overthinking place, again, the heart and the brain aren't talking. Oh, I've, saw a million things on social media, or this person's doing this or that. We can get really confused. But if we filter all that information and then go down into our body, into our heart
Hmm.
gut unit, and we can start to really feel into that direct guidance, what's best for our path and our journey,
Hmm.
which is different from other people's.
Yeah. You talk about the electromagnetic frequency of the heart and how strong it is. What's going on there? Yeah, how we understand it.
Okay, so I love this. On page 45, there's this picture. So basically, this is what I love about the science backing up, like we said, this ancient wisdom, because sometimes we hear these terms energy and we're like, how do you really define that? Is this woo or not? But actually, there is a field given off by our heart that extends about 10 feet away from our body, and it can be measured by sensitive equipment known as magnetometers. So this is, light frequencies, energetic frequencies, magnetic fields, and it's 100 times stronger than the brain. So this field will changes in strength and coherence as we
Hmm.
become more coherent. So
Mm.
that calmness, that syncing up, it also changes with our emotional states. So this is why sometimes you walk into a coffee shop and you can just sort of feel, wow, that person's like having a bad day. You can feel their vibe. And guess
Hmm.
what? People can feel you. So what's so powerful about this work as well, practically speaking, I have many friends who are looking for relationships. They're on dating apps. They're trying to find a new job, opportunities. There is science to this idea of magnetism,
Hmm.
drawing things into you. You may say you want to find your husband, this healthy love, whatever it is. You can say that. You can mentally think that. But energy doesn't lie. So if there's this incoherence, if you're in a lack mindset, if there's your heart and your brain aren't talking, you emit a certain field, literally
Yeah.
speaking, that's measurable. So you may attract chaos, drama, the same old patterns. You may push people away that you would like to connect with. So
Yeah.
it's very practical and powerful.
Yeah, and I'm thinking of the ancient. You mentioned no matter where your ancestors came from, or just ancient wisdom in general. I remember reading about ancient Israelites, and they even today I think the Hebrew word is tselem, and it's like this energy field as well. And they talk and
Yes.
they talked about how many feet it go out thousands of years ago, and you're saying this similar in the yogic science books as well. Like they talked about this resonance or this or this aura, I guess would be another way of putting it. Is it all the same? Are we talking about the same thing in different languages?
Well, I'm getting goosebumps. So only in modern times, when we look back in history, let's say the last 100 and 150 years, there's been this huge emphasis on the brain,
Hmm.
right? And all the neurotropics and the neurofeedback. I'm not saying the brain isn't important, but the heart has sort of been relegated to romantic love or sentimental or these erratic emotions, which are actually from the ego. If you
Hmm.
look back in history, if you look back into these ancient texts, as you're describing, lev, right, this word for heart,
Yeah.
the Anahata chakra, the Heart Sutra in Buddhism. Again, the Egyptians didn't remove the heart from the mummy because it was believed to be necessary for the soul to navigate the afterlife. There's always been this belief that the heart is this special gateway. It's more than a physical organ. So it is this physicality, but there's this energetic
Hmm.
quality to it, which has been talked about for millennia, right? And
Yeah.
so, from a yogic standpoint, it's believed in these texts as you awaken the heart, again, you awaken the third eye. So, your ability
Hmm.
to see more than the physical eyes can see. So, you see yourself, you can see
Hmm.
others, you can see a way to unity and peace, you can
Yeah.
see, the best way to communicate something. So, it's so powerful and practical. And again, I can say in my personal life, well, again, I've tried so many different things. I practice food combining. I eat organic food. I use non-toxic products. I thought I had a lot of energy, but we don't realize all these emotional upheavals really drain us. So, for
Mhm.
example, 2 minutes of irritation can put into process 1,500 different biochemical processes, which ultimately drain our energy. And there's a graph in this book. I was looking for it. I don't want to sit here looking, but it was 5 minutes. They researched this 5 minutes of recalling anger, not just even being angry, but this is where you talk to your friend, this person screwed me over, recalling anger for 5 minutes. Well, dropped your IgA, your immunity for 6 hours. Right. So I didn't realize all these little things, I see
Yeah.
something on the news or whatever. It's just like, this, this person cut me off. All these things added up. So now, because of these heart coherence tools, it doesn't mean I don't get triggered, but I
Hmm.
come back faster and faster and I get triggered less. So I would quantify 70% more energy at the end of the day. We're talking about cacao now. I don't have to drink coffee. I just feel more clear.
Hmm.
My bickering with my husband, we've been married now 5 years. The first 2 years we were sort of working on our communication. I would say our relationship is 90% better. And I'm not
Amazing.
exaggerating. Just heart coherence, it changes families. There's so much more calmness with my kids,
Hmm.
right? I feel more harmony at work.
Yeah.
Opportunities have more speaking has been coming to me. Just lots of things happen.
Yeah.
And what the ancients also said, Will, is that the heart works in nonlinear ways. So it's really exciting. You can create, I use this term, you know, with reverence, you can make quantum leaps in your life when you awaken this heart power. It's not going to
Hmm.
be, it's going to take as long as your mind thinks it's going to take.
Yeah.
You can really quantum leap your energy and your life.
Yeah, well, because almost in a way, you think of bringing it back to bees. You are connecting yourself to the larger quantum hive mind where there's so much more synchronicity, right? You're not divorcing yourself from the greater whole.
So I'll give you a practical example about that, right? Because the synchronicity isn't because we are special.
Yeah,
It's because we're stepping into a different field, right? So
right.
I say this in the book. The Western movies we watch, well, usually there's this moment like, Die Hard or these classic movies where the hero's like, I have the power in me. I can save the town or the plane or whatever it is. But from a heart's perspective, there's a
Hmm.
power. You realize the power moving through me. So it's
Yeah.
not specific to me. It's not personal ego based. It's you're stepping into a field. So a couple years ago, I gave one of my books to Deepak Chopra to review, and he reviewed it. And then I was feeling really great, and I just felt like, oh, there's a purpose to us connecting. I feel like we could do more together. And I was just in this state of flow, but not pushy, not trying to email too much or get grabby, right? It was just this energy that you start to embody. So,
Yeah.
in a clear heart period, I was living in New York City at the time, and I was walking to a meeting across Union Square Park. And I always cut across the park because it's faster. But then I just had this intuition walk around the outskirts of the park. So I did. I walked around the west side and boom, on the street, well, I ran into Deepak. I mean, this is stuff you can't plan for. And I was like, Deepak, it's Kimberly. You just reviewed my book. Um, I feel like we should connect, like from my heart. And he gave me his cell phone number. So a few weeks later, we met in a coffee shop. And in 2 hours, we decided to write a book together called Radical Beauty, which was published a few years ago. We wrote out the 6 pillars of the book. We created this amazing thing. It became a New York Times bestseller. These are the things that you cannot plan from an egoic, the propelled heart. So as you
Yeah.
awaken the heart, there are incredible things that can happen.
Yeah, so beautiful. I always call them God winks, the synchronicity. It's like there's a beautiful, like it's ineffable. You can't really explain it. But when you see it, you know it.
When you're in this, as you awaken more, these boxes we put ourselves in, the division, right? We see a lot of
Mhm.
division out in the world. This is right, that's wrong, this side. That's what judgment is. I judge this person to be this. I judge myself to be this. When we awaken the heart more and more, we create this heart brain harmony, the Tao Te Ching talks about. We step into this field of, the ancients would call it oneness, which can feel, from one concept, like how does that work? But this energy, all energy fields intersect. So when we
Mhm.
step into this place where we open up our energy, so what I've experienced even recently, Will, practically speaking, like I can reach anybody. So I actually shot this little video. I felt really inspired to send the book to Tony Robbins, who I've never met before. And I sent off this little, you know, note and video. Within 24 hours, he wrote back to me and he's like, send me the book. So I would send Tony the book. 24 hours after that, he gave me an amazing endorsement. Right. And
Amazing.
so again, from the mind, it's like, I don't know if, anybody cares or I want to reach this person, but all of us have this power inside of
Mhm.
us that can be awakened.
Yeah, so cool. And I'm thinking of, we talked about these different cultures and religions and spiritual, principles. And even it's now wrote, almost flippantly said in Christianity of like having Christ, having Jesus in your heart. There's something to that, right? You're talking about the sort of the Christ shift. I wonder if it's all one and the same, right? It's really like this awareness of bringing Christ into this spiritual center of your life, right?
Yes. So again, no separation, right?
Yeah.
Some interpret the second coming of Christ as this incredible unconditional love arising
Mhm.
inside of us, so that we are stepping into this field of, again, no separation, love your brothers and sisters, do unto others as you would do unto yourself,
Mhm.
right? This peace that passeth all understanding. So
Mhm.
there's this field, the devotional heart, as I mentioned, the fourth stage, which is such, it's a different way of living. And so I can say, tapping into that more has just, it's what matters, right? Will, the
Right.
day-to-day life. We can have these grandiose goals, we can achieve them and still feel really unfulfilled. But it's like moment to moment, how do you want to feel in your life? And
Right.
so what I love about the heart, it's this power. It's like right here, right now. It's bringing you into this complete presence in this moment. And so you start to, heart-based living means you start to filter your words, right? You're not just letting the mind leave, your actions, your
Hmm.
thoughts, you're guided from the heart. And then it opens up so much
Yeah.
connection, so much love, and so much, again, practically speaking, emotional intelligence, better work outcomes, more success, more abundance.
More energy. Yeah. Yeah, and back to my earlier thought around this of so much of it is different than just talking about it or pontificating about it, but actually, is it creating a state change? And science is in many ways now catching up with antiquity that we can measure these things like heart rate variability and cortisol dropping and DHEA increasing through these methods. So even when you think of religion, I think sometimes theology and how much destruction has been made with religion because it's all in just the mind. It's all this egoic, I'm right, you're wrong, tribalism, and versus this true state change where it's the opposite
Yes.
of that. It's inner alignment and outer alignment as well.
Yes, this is embodiment. We are embodying this energy, right? So the graph I showed you, what your body looks like when you are in a state of appreciation is different than, robotically saying, oh, I'm supposed to make a gratitude list every morning. I saw
Right.
something on TikTok. This is a good thing to do. You can know about meditation. You can know about mindfulness. I'm supposed to drop my thought, all these things. But what's so powerful about this work, again, we're getting out of the head. We're going into this power center. It's simple. These techniques are powerful. The meditation in the book is less than 8 minutes. The Heart Align Harmonize is 3 to 10 seconds, Will. You can embody a different state, exactly as you're saying, which
Yeah.
changes your perceptions. You're not trying to just change your thoughts from your thoughts. Like we're going
Yeah.
to a different place to find the solution.
Right. You're changing your state to change your thoughts. It's like the internal versus the external. Teach us that. Teach us I know the heart aligned meditation. That's what you mentioned in 4 weeks. They saw a 29% improvement in heart coherence. It's in the book. Is it less than 8 minutes? So I don't know if you have like a mini version for people today. You mentioned a few seconds because
Yeah.
they're just
Can
shifting.
we let's do it in 30 seconds.
Let's do it.
Okay, so I will say, okay, if you're driving, don't close your eyes, but if you're in a place where you can close your eyes, you can do this or come back to it, or even try doing it with your eyes open. You'll still get benefit. So you and I will close our eyes down. And first thing we're going to do is shift our awareness to our heart. So you can touch your heart or you can just shift your awareness. And what's so amazing for this is good for the discerning mind to know. Research published in the American Journal of Cardiology shows that just shifting our attention to our heart, something as simple as this, starts to create change in your nervous system. This alone starts to rewire your nervous system. So we're placing our attention there. And now we're going to take a few cycles of deep breaths in and out through the heart. So imagining the heart's like a giant lung. And in the book, there's a specific heart coherence breath pattern. We won't have to get into the whole thing now. That starts you into more coherence. But for now, just don't worry about counting. Just imagine you're breathing out of your heart nice and slowly, nice and deeply. And now keep your focus, your awareness on your heart, and recall someone or something that makes you feel appreciation. So, appreciation is a mix of gratitude, awe, approval. It feels expansive, maybe a little tingly. So, this could be your puppy, your child, a beautiful sunset you saw on a trip. And once you have something that helps you recall the feeling, drop the visual and just focus on that feeling of appreciation right in your heart. And we'll sustain this just for a few moments. And just another few moments. If you dropped it, you can bring back that visual for a moment. And then just right in your heart, feel that expansive energy, appreciation. And then take another deep breath in and out. You can silently thank your beautiful heart for its amazing wisdom. And when you're ready, you can open your eyes.
Wow, that was special. Thank you so much for that.
So we were in that will for just a few seconds. What the research shows, when you can you feel that
Oh yeah.
for me, it's like these waves, right? If we stay in it in the guided tracks for about 2 minutes, you're creating those actual physiological changes in the body. So a lot of
Amazing.
meditations are disassociative, right? Like let me imagine I'm at a waterfall, a different place. This
Yeah.
is bringing you into your power, into your body,
Yeah.
into this clarity, into this gateway power center. So then we emerge, and this clarity comes, and these heart qualities, which I believe are our true nature, the ancients taught that you become softer, more
Hmm.
compassionate, easier to let go of the many grievances we have against others, more
Hmm.
united, just more peaceful, right? It's a different state of being. So over time, as you continue to do these practices, and some of them are not pulling you out of life, sometimes you do in the middle of driving in the traffic or with your child having a tantrum, you build what's called your coherence capacity. So this is where the neuroplasticity comes in. You start to rewire. So your baseline, you become more resilient against stress over time. You become more heart-based over time. You become less into that overthinking mode over time.
Wow. I love that. It's so great. So consistency, just you said about 8 minutes a day. I mean, to get the most benefits, what would you recommend as far as consistency is concerned?
So, what we did in the study was if you can do the meditation tract, and it's on my website at mysaluna.com, free for everyone to also check out. It's under 8 minutes, it's paired with coherence music.
Mhm.
If you can do that at least 4 times a week, what we saw was almost a 30% increase in coherence in month one.
Wow.
So I wish we did this study for 2 months, but we could see month after month. But even if you don't have time to always do the meditation, if you practice the Heart Aligned Harmonize tool, which is in the second chapter of the book, if you practice the Heart Aligned Steady in Life practice, which is when big emotions come, how you use that heart coherence to anchor yourself. So don't go into balancing your hormones,
Hmm.
balancing your immunity, all of that. These are practices that you can come back to time and time again in as little as a minute. So, like I
Hmm.
said, 2 minutes of irritation can really throw off your body, age you. So, if we
Hmm.
have these tools and teachings, which is what I'm so passionate about getting out into the world, this is free will. You don't have to buy stuff, you don't have to take pharmaceuticals, you don't have to get a biohacking device. This is within yourself.
Yeah.
These are certain breath techniques, certain ways of just activating those neurons in the heart. Really simple, evidence
Yeah.
based, really powerful. You will start to create change week after week, month after month.
So good. My friend, this has been a great conversation. As you know, the podcast, it's called The Art of Being Well. We've done this last time you were on the show. This is
Oh, yeah.
I mean, is this your second or third time on the pod? I think it might be the third, but
Third. It's my third time.
amazing. Welcome. You're the highest guest. I don't think we've ever had a guest 3 times, so you're the first.
Whoa.
This is a big deal. When you,
I'm so
I'll
honored.
send
I
you a
love you
bouquet
so
of,
much.
I love you too. I'll send you a bouquet of flowers. It'll be in the mail. It's a celebration. Just kidding. But maybe I should. But the podcast is called The Art of Being Well. We have your art of being well. First question is, I'm going to try to I'll ask you different questions. What's your favorite workout? If you had to do one workout for the rest of your life, what would that be?
Okay, so I do one thing every day, and that's I walk. I think walking is so natural, it's amazing. And yes, I live in the mountains, so there's lots of ups and downs for weight bearing. But walking for me is everything.
Amazing. What's your favorite type of herbal tea?
I like Tulsi, holy basil,
Holy basil, so good. Do you have it straight up? Do you have any like special way that you make it?
straight up.
Me
I always
too.
like my teas hot. I prefer hot over any sort of iced tea, personally.
Yeah. What's your favorite dessert?
Oh, we're talking about the cacao.
Okay.
Lots of combinations with cacao and honey. We do like nibs in coconut yogurt sometimes with the honey, but I am a huge fan of raw, unfiltered honey. I make hot chocolate for my kids. So those two ingredients get a lot of play in my home.
Love it. Do you have somewhere that you've never been to traveling wise to explore, but it's on your bucket list?
So this is a great question, Will, because I went backpacking for 3 years after
Wow.
college and went to over 50 countries. Now I've been to
Wow.
almost 80 countries, but I have never been to Egypt. So because of this
Amazing.
heart reach, this work, I would love to go to some of those sacred places.
Yeah. I talked to Jessica Zweig. Do you know who she is? She has a book all about her experience with Egypt, and it's fascinating.
Mm,
Really fascinating.
amazing.
Yeah. My friend, where do people go? Where do people go to get the book, follow you, learn about your work?
So you can get the book wherever books are sold online, your local bookseller, The Hidden Power, The Five Hearts, and also mysoluna.com. And we still have some amazing bonuses like joining me in our 4 week heart reset. If you get the book through the first, by September 20th or so. So that's mysoluna.com/5 hearts book.
Amazing. My friend, welcome back. Come back anytime. Standing
Thank you
invitation.
so much, Will. I appreciate you and your authentic big heart so much.
Thank
Thank
you so
you.
much.